Welcome to Job Club. We're so glad you've joined us today. We'll get started shortly, but for now, please locate the chat box and toggle the to icon to everyone to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through today's program. Let us know where you're logging in from. Also, let us know what kind of work you're seeking if you're a job seeker. You can put all that in the chat box. Welcome, everyone. We're glad you've joined us for Job Club today. We'll start shortly, have a wonderful speaker lined up. For now, please locate the chat box and toggle the to icon to everyone to ensure that we can see your questions and comments as we move through today's program. Let us know where you're logging in from and also what kind of work you're looking for. Good morning, Joe from Georgetown. Berea, Sadie, welcome. It's always exciting to see where our audience is joining us from. Again, welcome to Job Club. We'll begin shortly. While you're waiting, go ahead and toggle the to icon to everyone so that we can see your comments in the chat box. And let us know where you're logging in from and what kind of work you're looking for if you're a job seeker. Hello, Marty from Texas. Good morning, Fred from Lexington. Use that chat box. Again, welcome to Job.
Like Caroline's having some audio trouble on her end of video. All right, welcome to Job Club. We're so glad that you're here today. Thanks for logging in. For those that are just joining us, please toggle the to icon to everyone to ensure that we can see your questions and comments as we progress through the program today. Diana, you want to take it from here?
Absolutely. And again, we're just thrilled to see the numbers climbing as everyone is joining, and we really do like to know where you're from. It's amazing how Job Club has expanded during the pandemic, and we are thrilled that you have joined us today. So we're just going to go ahead and start our main slides and tell you what's in store for today. And we will have some tremendous success stories. Our main speaker will not disappoint. It's going to be a great program as usual. We're going to have a sharing of active job leads following our presentation. We'll have some partner updates with what's going on in the interim between when we meet in Job Club. And then we'll be sharing what happens next time at Job Club. And I want to introduce you to the Job Club team. I am Diana Doggett. I'm the County Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences in Fayette County. Caroline Francis, who you just heard from, is Director of Alumni Career Services. Amanda followed her, and she's Associate Director of Alumni Career Services. Nicole Waite is the Employment Specialist at UK Steps. And we also shout out to Ellie Goodman and Queen Sullivan, Suzanne Smith. They're in the background. They're making sure that everything happens today in the manner that it should, so that you will get a wonderful, wonderful production of Job Club. We always like to emphasize our mission, and that is to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find the schedule of topics at www.ukalumni.net/Job Club. Our current schedule is tentative as we are adapting to the needs of our audience and meeting via Zoom webinar But we have our fall schedule ready to go, and we'll be sharing that a little bit later as we enter September. We always want to welcome our first timers. We want to remind you that you'll receive a follow-up survey later today, and this feedback places you in our notification system for future programs. So there is a QR code on the screen right now that if you'd like to go ahead and use your cameras for that, we'd love for you to complete that survey right now. It's just about 5 questions, but it really does get you into our database, and you will receive a wealth of information from us. So please take time to do that. We have a website in our chat box that you can also find the survey. We have a wealth of free resources, and our free Job Club resource packet is located on our Job Club website, and you can find that again at the address on the screen. And in this packet, you're just going to find information that's going to help you in every aspect of your job search. And so we'll have networking opportunities, interview tips, articles of interest. We change from month to month, week to week. And so you could just check that out when you're in that job search and you need a particular aspect of job search information. We also remind you to join the Central Kentucky Job Club sharing community site on LinkedIn. This has really picked up in the last few months. We have a lot of recruiters and businesses that are posting jobs, as well as our jobs in the interim between sessions of Job Club. So check this out and become a part of our community on LinkedIn. And now we've got success stories, and wow, there has been a lot of productivity in the last weeks, months, and really in the last 2 weeks. And I'm thrilled to share these. I'm going to go over them as quickly as possible, but I can't tell you how this is so encouraging to our team, but we want it to be a motivating factor to you as well, to know that these are attendees of Job Club. And they have adapted the strategies, and their success lies in their notifying us of the employment that they've received. So we are so happy to say that Sandra Kimberlin started Monday her new job as the Director of Academic Advising at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College. Her biggest advice is just make sure your resume is modernized. The same rules I learned aren't necessarily followed anymore. And make sure your social media, especially LinkedIn, is utilized as well. We got this email from a past Job Club participant who attended 4 years ago. I can't believe how time has flown. I continue to be happy and wanted to let you know that I have never forgotten how much the Job Club meant to me and the friendships I gained. While attending, I gave several people, and I continue to do so, information about UK Job Club and told them about the great experience I received from you and everyone at the Career Center. And Zeke Gogan is happy to share his new job, a 12-month government contractor position as a technical writer for the Administrative Office of the Courts of Frankfurt. He developed and edited standard operating procedures and forms for the Office of Finance and Administration within the AOC. I don't know that I have any great advice for the job hunt, except to keep updated profiles on sites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter. A recruiter found my resume on one of those sites, and that's how I got the job. Happy for you to share the news with Job Club. I got a lot of virtually attending every session. That was wonderful, great news. Kathy Landon landed a job as well. And actually, she says, until I read your reminder, I forgot you needed to know. So we would remind you that when you get that job, we want you to share the good news with us. In addition to getting a job, sales, buying, and marketing for Baby Bundles, a children's boutique, I have started a podcast. As a direct result of the training from Job Club and looking at my skills and talents, I decided to try this as a passion side hustle. As of this Tuesday, I will have launched 18 episodes and have over 1,200 downloads. Its name is Productivity and Proverbs 31, a podcast for young moms who stay at home but want to grow their faith, have a life and business they love, and some life hacks along the way. So she wants you all to check into that. Thank you for all you do. I read the blogs and articles you send, and if I'm ever off on a meeting day, I always tune in. And our last one is from Casey Miller. She has a new position as Director of Philanthropy at KET. The biggest thing for me was bringing my whole self to the table in my cover letter. I was not generic. I was earnest and sincere about what interested me the most about the agency and what about my background made me a good fit for the position. I went for a promotion, got a lateral move, and made sure not to sell myself short in resume and cover letter. I made sure that I didn't use blah, blah language. You only have one page. I also did not hesitate to ask for a raise, which I received. You can always negotiate, but it's important to know industry standards for salary and ask for that salary. And I prepared an excellent list of thoughtful questions for my interview, which impressed the hiring committee. I wanted to know what culture and what separated a good employee one from an excellent one. Job Club resources were very helpful for both the resume prep and interview process. Thank you again. So these are just examples of how people can really face this, what seems like a dire quest in getting that job that really meets and suits your talents, but you can do it. And that's why we exist at Job Club. So we'd love to hear from you today. If you want to just put some things in the chat box, any success stories that you have achieved. And it doesn't have to be, we're not necessarily looking that you've turned that in an original format as a job, but have you got an interview? Do you have an upcoming interview? Have you updated your resume? What about joining LinkedIn? Have you joined our community group at LinkedIn? Anyone that wants to can enter those successes in our chat box, and for others to read, as well as to be a motivating factor in each day is a new day in the job search. And these are just some of the things that have to be done and lead to the road to success. We have anybody out there that wants to put some in the chat box? You can continue to do that throughout our presentation today, but we really like your feedback, knowing where you're at in your journey, so that prepares us even more so for some of the topics that we present on Job Club. So I'm not really seeing any. I know they're out there. So when you think about them, yep, we've got one here that from Aaron, and he learned that he's being retained after some uncertainty with his company, and I believe I'm actually moving into a more prominent role with a promotion with a new company. So that's great news. I'm sure you had to be prepared to make an assessment and apply for that position. That's wonderful news. Anybody else that wants to share? If not, we'll get on with our formal introduction of today's guest speaker, Jaclyn Badeau. She's the president of Badeau Consulting. Her introduction was just amazing, and I'm only going to be able to share a small part of it, but this is one talented presenter, and we are just thrilled to have her share with us today. Trust, leadership, relationships, integrity. These are just a few of the many characteristics used to describe Jaclyn by some of her clients, mentees, and colleagues. Over her career, she has served in a variety of roles and focused on coaching, cultivating high-performing teams, and developing her business acumen. Building on her love of leadership, she obtained her Development Dimensions International Facilitator certification. Jaclyn also develops and facilitates her own leadership training courses in ethics and leadership. Jaclyn is CPA, CGMA, MBA, EQ certified, and the president of Badeau Consulting, with a vision to motivate, inspire, lead, and empower others by providing emotional intelligence-based coaching, speaking engagements, leadership course facilitation, and consulting. Prior to launching her own company, she spent over 6 years in public accounting, leading the firm's audit training, career counseling various staff, and assisting clients with business enhancements projects across 5 industries. Jaclyn also worked as a global public manufacturing and retail company for over 8 years in 4 different roles, including controllership, internal audit, coaching, and mentoring. Among her numerous awards, she is one of 5 recipients of the 2021 AICPA Young CPA Award, recognizing a young CPA who personifies an unwavering commitment as demonstrated through successful practices. She received the Distinguished Alumni Honor from EKU in 2016. Jaclyn, the list just goes on, but we're not going to take any more time. We want to hear from you, and we are so happy that you're joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone. Really happy to be with you. As you've probably seen in the chat, that there's going to be some materials for you. So we actually have a participant workbook where you can take notes and reflect, and I've included some tips in there. So I think we're going to be filled with a lot of information. I love those success stories that Diana shared with you guys earlier, because some of those tips, literally, I'm going to talk about it today. So feel free to ask Q&A throughout. We will have some time at the end as well, but we have a lot to get through. So I'm going to go ahead and get started again. Diana's introduced me. I love watching people grow in their career. That's why I started my own company early in 2020. So if you ever need anything in that space, feel free to reach out. Now, what we're here to talk about today, I want to go over some job hunting strategies for you to consider and apply to you, what works best for you. I want to go over some interviewing tips, and then I've included some bonus resume tips at the end. I know you have some resume workshops and speaker coming up, so I wanted just to throw in some little extra things for you. But, why are we here? There's probably many reasons why some of you are here today. Some of them may be on the screen right now. Maybe you're looking for a career change. Maybe you're underemployed. Perhaps you just lost your job. Again, you may be wanting to make some type of pivot in your career. Whatever stage you're in, what I think about is right now you have an opportunity. It's how I love to think about it. So as you clarify that next step for you, I want to share some of those tips of that opportunity that you can really jump into. The first piece of advice that, if you've ever worked with me as a coachee, if you've ever heard me speak on similar topics, I'm going to always say you've got to start with yourself. You've got to understand what you want. So I call that what makes you tick. And this is especially important while you're job hunting. And I challenge you to think of what are the 4 or 5 things that truly make you tick in your career, that truly are going to make you happiest. I'm sure there's 100 things that we could say, we want this and that and the other, but challenge yourself. Boil that down to 4 or 5 things. Now, some of those examples could be looking for a certain type of culture within a company. Maybe it's some type of money and compensation plan is really important to you, and that's one of the things that make you tick. Maybe it's you just want an environment where the company's not afraid to change and try new ideas, or perhaps you're looking for flexibility of schedule. Maybe you want to make sure your values align. There's development opportunities. There's career progression. I could keep on going on and on about what they could look like. But I want you to remember that these 4 or 5 things are going to be different person to person. And I say that's okay, because guess what? We're all individual human beings, right? So now, you really get grounded on what makes you tick. So brainstorm that. I've actually provided some space in your workbook to do that. So now you're going to start looking for a position and a company that can deliver on those 4 or 5 things in your job hunt. After you get grounded with those, it's really helpful to start establishing and being able to really articulate some career goals. Now, this may help you find some open positions that you could be more successful in. And I'm not really talking about, I want this certain title in 5.3 years, type of goal or anything. What I really would recommend you think about, what are those skills, responsibilities, and areas that you want to grow in and experience in? Think of like 2 to 3 years out. And the reason why I say about 2 to 3 years is it's fantastic to have those big picture, those vision, those goals. But you all know we're in an ever-changing environment, and your goals can become irrelevant very fast. So thinking about them in 2 to 3 years can really help you hone in and communicate to your potential employer what you're looking to achieve. Now, we're grounded in what makes us tick. You've thought about that. You're going to think about some goals, those skills and areas you want to grow in and get experience in. You're going to communicate that throughout your job hunting. And it's time to start going. Now, here's what often happens. People start to really quantify their job search and applying. Let me apply for this job. Let me apply for this job. People think it's successful. Oh, I applied for 10 positions today. That doesn't necessarily correlate to success. What I really want you to think about is honing in on, after you know what makes you tick in those goals, finding those positions that are going to get you there. Because did you know that 80% of job openings don't get posted? So if you're just out there applying, that doesn't necessarily correlate to success. And 80% of jobs don't even get posted. So how are you supposed to find this job now that you've got grounded with everything? And that's really a big concept of networking. Networking is key. So this is when you're really building genuine relationships with people. Your network may be able to help connect you with other people and companies when you're in need. Networking can lead to the higher chances of you landing that interview, right? Again, only 20% of jobs are really posted out there. And even getting to know more about a company and its culture prior to working there, that network can help you understand that and see if it's really aligning with those good 4 or 5 things that make you tick in your career ambitions in those areas you want to grow in. So let's go into some tips for networking, since we know that's so important. There's 7 that I'm going to share with you today. And this is actually a great article that Indeed has. And I know someone in the success stories mentioned Indeed, but 7 tips for networking. Get face-to-face, offer help, fight your fear, be patient, and make time. Focus on the relationship, not necessarily on the resume. Focus using your social networks and online resources and following up. So we're going to go into each one so I can give you some more perspective on them. Of course, let's start with number 1. Makes sense. Go in order. Let's start with getting face-to-face. Now, tempting to network only behind the safety of a computer screen. A lot of us, we may kind of be tempted to do that. But networking in person can really provide that more personal interaction. So rather than only emailing the friend who works at the company you want to work for, maybe just schedule a lunch with them or a coffee with them. Maybe even if you're doing networking, a really good way to consider this is you're building that relationship. So when you have that face-to-face time, discuss not only the position you're hoping for, but also your relationship. Get to know them. Those relationships, when they're genuine, you're connected with people, that's when they're most successful, that people can go, oh, I talk with Jaclyn, we always have a good conversation. Maybe she knows someone, right? Also consider attending events where you can make new connections. So if you're searching for a new job in your current field, like attend a convention or a business social, a job fair in that area, so you can meet others that in the current company who have those shared interests. If you want to move beyond your current field, find someone in your network to attend an event with. That could be good to help introduce. They can introduce you to other people. So you can really meet a lot of new people in those face-to-face and those exchanges, and make sure you take business cards. And again, they can get you introduced. You could also like personally network with your friends and family. I think some people, we don't think about this. Obviously, that could be in much more informal settings. So go to family gatherings, go meet your friends for coffee or whatever is something you all do together. And you never know it. Just let them know you're searching for a job. You never know who they come across or how they can help you connect. Of course, with our macro environment with COVID right now, there could be restrictions on this. So I would say always do what makes you feel comfortable, of course. And of course, take advantage of those networking opportunities that are virtual. But I do want to challenge you, when it's safe for yourself and there's that opportunity, to think about those face-to-face interactions, because they can really help build those good networking connections and relationships. Okay, our second tip, let's go ahead and look into that one. This is all about offering help. So sometimes you can improve your relationships with your contacts and your chances of finding work by offering help to your contacts. Have you ever thought about this? So remember, networking is about turning outward and volunteering to help your connections. So if you always go into networking like, how can they help me? I think I challenge you to reframe your mindset. It should be about also helping others, that outward reflection. So you can illustrate your motivation and your dedication, and you can maybe even display your skills if you offer them some help. Like, listen to your connections and look for those opportunities to help them, regardless if they guarantee you a position in their company. Because remember, in the future, your assistants and may really prove that, hey, they really know what they're doing. They helped me on this project. They did a few hours of work on this, and it was fantastic work. And they're going to remember you. Oh, this position's opening in my company or in this other company I know, and they would be perfect, right? So offering help and doing something for someone else can really show people your skills, right? That's a fantastic thing to think about. All right, networking tip number 3, fight your fear. Oh, I love talking about this. I love this quote. I've put it up here. But if you're an introvert, you may need to challenge yourself to be more outgoing and to network effectively. And what I mean, we all have that in us. We just may need to prepare ourselves a little better. So encourage yourself, just do a little more, especially if you're an introvert, than you normally would, by speaking to someone just a little bit longer or interacting with a handful of people at your next work event. If you feel anxiety about interacting with others, try preparing questions and discussion topics before talking with them. Sometimes people are hesitant to network for the fear of rejection. And I'm thinking, like, be proud of your efforts regardless of the outcome. And remember, that we will have more opportunities to create connections, and that may lead to the job you want. So just kind of push yourself a little bit, prepare those questions. People like talking about themselves, so start just asking questions about the other person if you want a quick tip there. Number 4, it's all about being patient and making time. So cultivating strong relationships, it can take time, as can networking to find that right position, something that really makes you tick, right? I'm going to go back to being grounded in that. And so be patient through the process, something just to keep us in our head in the meantime. It can be helpful to call a company that you're interested in working for and ask even for an informational meeting. I love this concept. Go in, if they grant you this informational meeting, go in with the intent to just get to know the company and those potential hiring managers instead of planning to ask for a job. So taking that time can help build those relationships and get you familiar with those potential employers. And it can really, I like to say, it can really help flex your natural curiosity and really expand your horizon and your different thinking to learn something new. So those informational meetings can be really cool to get to understand a company a lot better. All right, tip number 5 in our networking area, it's all about focusing on the relationship, not the resume. And so when I think about this, it's kind of what I said earlier. It is tempting to focus on selling yourself and sharing your resume with anyone, right, who will take it. And focusing on relationships, though, may make it a more powerful impression than even your previous work experience. If people know you're trying to build a relationship, you're out there networking, and you're not just talking about me, here's my resume all the time. You're a likable person, that you're showing your professional worth, and you're listening. That's such a critical skill when you're networking. Listen to the other person. Ask follow-up questions that really get to what they're thinking. And that's a key skill in building relationships, as well as that active listening. And shout out to the emotional intelligence leadership skill, empathy. I actually have a 2-hour class on that. That is such an important skill to learn for things like job hunting and other building relationships and trust and DE&I initiatives and so forth. All right, let's go on to our next tip, which is tip number 6, all about using those social networks and online resources. Again, we heard from some success stories about this, and Diana and team have encouraged to get on LinkedIn, set up your profile. We have a group with the Central Kentucky Job Club that you can join and get going. So networking through face-to-face interaction is invaluable. We've talked about that. But if you want to maximize your reach, this is kind of like, let's maximize your reach. Use social networks and other online resources to reinforce relationships and search for new connections. There's so much information out there. In some cases, like meeting face-to-face with employees of your target company may not always be possible, right? You may be looking for a remote position and this company is in another state. So sometimes you can use the internet to close the distance. So online contacts are a simple way to make some initial connections. So post on social networks that you're seeking employment. Message friends and followers that you think can help you search. Let them know you're searching. Use discussion board. Indeed has a job forum. Central Kentucky Job Club, like I mentioned, get on there. Connect with other job seekers and other professionals. There's a lot of things to think about with social networks. I have a personal branding course. Put a little blurb up there about stepping out of the shadows and shaping your career path, where I talk about effective ways to build your brand and do that through social networks, and because they're often utilized to really build that brand. And it's important to maintain visibility, and using LinkedIn is a really good tool to do that. Many recruiters and hiring managers are looking there to find potential candidates. Remember how I said earlier, only 20% of jobs are posted? what happens? A lot of recruiters and companies go through LinkedIn and go find them themselves versus posting somewhere. So keep your profile current. Connect with professionals. So anytime you meet a professional in an event online or face-to-face, connect with them on LinkedIn. Engage on the platform. So comment on people's posts, share, like. Example, if there's a certain company or employee, that you're targeting, go to that company and follow the employees that post things, make comments, do those things to where they can see that you're engaged. I would really consider the things that you're grounded in of what makes you tick and career goals. Those are probably the things you should comment on or reshare or like, right? You don't have to go on there and just push like, because that may not necessarily be effective. It's all about the quality is what I'm going to say. The quality of your thought leadership and your voice and maintaining that visibility and that presence in the marketplace. That's a good forum to do that. All right. Now going to tip number 7, following up. This is going to be very important because you want to guarantee that your networking interactions were worthwhile. So you want to follow up with your new connections after making that initial contact. The follow-up could look like things of thanking them for meeting you, asking some further questions. Maybe, you talked about something and you saw an article pop up and it was relevant to your conversation and you sent it to them and say, hey, I thought about you when I saw this given our conversation last week, right? That's what building relationships and networking is all about. A friend may also recommend contacting one of their connections. So make sure when you reach out to that contact, not only do you mention that so-and-so suggested you contact them, but also email your friend that, hey, I reached out to the person you suggested. And then once that person actually follows up with you, reach back out to your friend. Hey, I just want to let you know that so-and-so, we just chatted. We're going to meet on a certain date. Keep them up to date because that shows your gratitude. That strengthens your relationship because you're involving them on your career journey. And a really easy way to make sure you do this, because you're probably like, oh my gosh, that's just a lot to remember, is if you meet a contact within 24 hours, send them some type of follow-up note. If it's hard to remember, guess what? Put it on your calendar. I do that. I'll put like a little blurb on my calendar, block 15 minutes. Hey, follow up with so-and-so from last night's networking event or something like that. If that helps you, that's an easy tip. Go for it. So we have talked a lot about some networking tips. It was through an Indeed article. They also have this really cool video that kind of summarizes networking and holistically. So I wanted to go ahead and show this to you. It's about 30 minutes long. We're going to watch this and then we're going to continue our conversation.
Networking. It's a skill that comes easy to some, but for tons of people, myself included, it's a skill that's acquired. Research shows that referrals are a top source of hires, meaning those personal relationships, they can really pay off. So we're revealing the secrets of networking and answering the question we've all asked at some point. Is who you know more important than what you know? For years, athletes have used science and data analysis to improve. Now, we are doing the same for job seekers everywhere. This is Job Science. When it comes to networking and social events, there is nothing wrong with going alone. Putting yourself in a position to talk to new people, it's actually a good thing. You never know who you'll meet, who they might know, or how they can contribute to finding your next job. Meet Jess, a retail sales associate. She's attending her first ever Fashion Career Expo. A cool way to break the ice in a group setting is by wearing something that pops. It makes for a good conversation starter.
Hey, I love your shoes.
Thank you, I just got them. I'm Jess, Bria.
Nice to meet you.
Be yourself. That is the most important thing here. There's no need to try to be someone else or someone you're not. If you're looking to start an authentic relationship, it's key to ask about the other person first.
So what brings you here?
I'm actually a buyer.
I'm a sales associate.
Cool, so...
Ah, the head tilt. This is the universal sign that says, I'm listening, purely through body language. And while you are listening, do so empathetically and with curiosity about the other person's career.
Ben,
Oh, just recognizes someone. That is what happens when you research your connections. This can help you focus your energy on talking to the right people.
I haven't seen you since we worked together. How are you?
Great. I'm actually managing another boutique not too far from here.
Once you've made a genuine connection, feel free to bring up the topic of jobs, even if it doesn't come up naturally in the conversation.
Hey, do you happen to need any sales associates or stylists even?
Let's pause here. The brain can actually detect confidence in another's voice. Jess, she's definitely feeling herself. Smooth.
I'm looking.
Oh, yeah, I'll pass along your info. You have any business cards?
Yeah.
It's always good to have your business card and resume on you, especially at these kinds of things, but only give them out when asked for.
Rhea. Ben, this is Rhea.
Nice. You know, once in a while, think of people you know who should know each other but don't, and then introduce them. Follow up to see if their meeting was worthwhile. This one's all about paying it forward. This was the breakdown of networking. Till next time.
Okay, hopefully you're able to take away some tips from that video. I always like seeing it live and in action. A question that I get a lot regarding opportunities and networking situations is all about, like, how do I get started to ask questions and how do I really talk about things? And it really comes down to knowing and having your elevator pitch ready. And you've probably heard of the elevator speech. So elevator speech, pitch, I'll just kind of use those interchangeably. This is what you're supposed to have ready to say if you're ever in an elevator where where that opportunity is that you can introduce yourself to someone. And this concept is also applicable to networking events. So I think about it as what concise set of words best represent you. So I think it's going to be important to think about what your elevator speech or pitch is at networking events. So that way you can have a way to introduce yourself. I have included an example here. This is also from Indeed of an example elevator pitch. And this is something you can use in your networking event. So you can think about starting with, there's 4 steps, starting with introducing yourself. So full name, smile, extend your hand for a handshake, add some type of pleasantry like it's nice to meet you or something like that. Step 2, provide a brief summary of what you do. And so this is really quick, right? Because you don't want to drone on for 20 minutes when you're introducing yourself, but what's high level of how you can introduce yourself? What's like the most relevant information? What's something that everything when you're thinking about that comes to mind that can best describe you? So what you could do, the tip to kind of get there, is write down everything that you think is relevant or that you would love for people to know. Just write it down in a bullet list and then start removing things and going, okay, what's absolutely not critical to explaining my background? Or maybe it's not critical of exactly what you're looking for, what your audience member really needs to know. And so like kind of cross all those things off. And when you've gotten down to just a few points, then organize them in a way that makes sense to just have a natural conversation. So that's a tip of how to kind of get that really brief number 2 summary of what you do. Number 3, that's all about explaining what you want. So this is an opportunity to explain the value you bring, why you're a good fit for a job, or generally what your audience has to gain from your interaction. So just focus on what you can offer. So something high level. Again, this is just your brief introduction at a networking event, kind of that elevator speech. You only have usually like 45 seconds to maybe a minute and a half to get through it. And then finish with a call to action. So ask for, stating what you want to happen next. So if you feel like that elevator pitch is appropriate for a certain situation, you can begin with the goal of gaining a new insight or determining next steps. Ask for what you want can be intimidating, right? But it's important that you give the conversation an action item at the end instead of just letting it just come in and you're like, oh man, I missed an opportunity. So you just met this person, so make sure it's also a simple ask. So it's very little effort that's required on their part. All right, we talked about networking and why that is very important in your job hunting. And I'm also going to recommend thinking about going through a recruiter or a headhunter to really enhance your chances of finding a position you like, given what we discussed earlier, that only 20% of jobs are posted out there. So often companies even go directly through a recruiter or a headhunter and to conduct these searches. And again, they're not going to post them. So I recommend find a recruiter who really understands your field of interest and even conduct informational interviews with them to assess, do you think this is going to be a good fit, someone you want to partner with? Because, right, you want to help each other. They're going to get paid usually by the company to help you find a job, but you want to find that job that, again, fits what makes you tick and that you're grounded in. That's what you want to do, that fits your career goals. You could also go through like a career coach, because job hunting can be a frustrating process. So if you aren't seeing results, instead of just applying to everything and anything you see, seek out an expert who can really help you analyze reasons why you're not getting the results. So they can do things like help you improve the way your resume or your CV is written. They can help you apply for types of jobs that are better suited for your skills and background. And they even help you to prepare for your interviews, especially if you aren't getting calls back after having an interview. Perhaps you need some training in that interviewing space. So overall, what career coaches should be doing is they can help you really put your best self forward. One more tip on the job hunting process I'm going to say is don't apply for multiple positions within a company initially. So if you just have that approach with the intention of, again, applying for anything and everything, then there could be some negative consequences, because the company, if they see your name on 20 different positions, applications, they may not think you're serious. They may also think you don't really know what you want, because again, you're applying for lots of different positions within their org. And so instead, I recommend you thoughtfully review the job responsibilities for the positions if there are multiple open in a company. Review those responsibilities and expectations and apply for the position that you feel best aligns with what you want, what makes you tick, and those career goals that we got grounded on that in step one through this process. So those are some job hunting techniques. We've got grounded earlier on what we want. We have some job hunting techniques. Now it's all about getting ready. You're going to get some callbacks from interviews, and now we got to get prepared for that. So tip number one, please research the company. This shows interest and initiative to your potential employer that you actually care, that you're going to put in some work and effort. Where do you look? A lot of people ask me that. You can look at a lot of different places, company's website, different articles, Google News, Google them, put them and just Google their name. Look at their social media accounts. If they're a public company, there's a ton of different places that you can look for and get information. Don't skip this step. You probably have heard this before, but not everyone is doing it. I have interviewed thousands of people for lots of different types of jobs, and this is a step. If you don't research the company, I don't even give you a chance because you didn't even try, is kind of the impression sometimes that I get. So this is something you can control. You can control this. You've got this. So here are some places that you can look for that. Now, what are some other things when we're thinking about interviewing that you should really get prepared for? I'm going to come back to this elevator speech. We kind of talked about it in the sense of networking. So now let's talk about it of how you can get that ready for your interview, because you are going to get the infamous question. Tell me about yourself. I think 99% of people probably use that as a good opener to start chatting with someone in an interview. And some of the same concepts, the foundation of the elevator speech or pitch that we talked about, definitely apply in an interview situation. So I'm going to look at just a really simple example here. So this is a position for an executive assistant. Again, you can change this depending on your role. And here's an example that Indeed provides us. So, and maybe you don't say, hi, my name is Mark, but that could be if you're in the elevator with someone, perhaps it could be in one of the people on the interview panel. You never know. But hi, my name is Mark. Thanks so much for sitting down with me today. After graduating with my bachelor's degree in business admin, I've spent the last 3 years building professional experience as an executive assistant. I've successfully managed end-to-end event coordination and have generated a strong professional network for my colleagues. I was excited to learn about this opportunity in the sports management space. I've always been passionate about the way sports brings cultures together and would love the opportunity to bring my project management and leadership abilities to this position. The key here, be genuine, be yourself. These follow those 4 steps we talked about earlier. And that's a good way to say, tell me about yourself. Because lots of times the very first thing that people go, well, I don't know where to start. Well, do you want me to talk about personal? Do you want me to talk about professional? Do you want me to start back at high school? Well, if you're asking the interviewer all that, just take control. You've prepared. This is something that you can prepare for. So get ready. Another big thing in the moment and preparation for the interview, ask questions. If you've ever attended one of my other training courses, you're going to hear this in lots of different contexts because it's an important skill. One of the biggest mistakes that I have seen candidates make in an interview is not ask questions to each interviewee. Asking questions shows that you have a natural curiosity to learn. Make sure you at least have a few thoughtful questions ready to ask before going in. Again, that's something you can prepare, but better yet, in the moment, when you're having these conversations, hopefully your interviews are conversations and not question and I answer, question and I answer. Those aren't conversations. The interview should be conversation back and forth. And then you need to ask questions. That is where you're going to get those bonus points, is when you're talking with that interviewer, something they say may spark a question. You should ask it. Have that conversation with them. Ask those insightful questions. Again, you're going to prepare some just to have on deck, but in the moment, see also what comes up. Now, STAR answers. This is a technique. A lot of companies are making sure that people, some of them are actually giving you information about what the heck STAR answers are before you even come in. But when you're in an interview, you want to make sure that you answer all the questions with complete answers. So you need to give them everything they know. Basically, they need to know the context of the story, what specific steps were completed or not completed, and how it was done, and the result of your actions. So a way to do this is all about the STAR method. This is where you describe the situation. So you set the scene, give them necessary details of the example that you're trying to convey for them. The task, the T in STAR is task, describe what your responsibility was in that situation. Action, explain exactly what steps you took to address it. And result, what were the outcomes that those actions achieved? If you answer your interview questions in this type of context, STAR, then they're going to walk away and go, I have a really good understanding of Jaclyn's contributions to the company, because she walked me through those other examples from her previous experience. So STAR, there's a ton of information out there on the internet about that and how you can even prepare yourself a little bit on that. Some other just do's and don'ts of interviewing I've listed here. I'll go over a couple. Some easy ones. Oh my gosh, lots of these are easy. Be excited. if you come in the interview and you're just sitting there, right? People want to know you're generally excited to work for a company, right? This is an opportunity. Ask about training and development opportunities. Of course, always be genuine. If you don't want to learn and grow and train and develop, then I guess that's one thing. But ask for those. Like, what opportunities do you have in training? What are those development opportunities you have? Thank the interviewer for their time. You're both taking time out of your schedule. So, thank them for spending time with you. That is a time investment. That shows professionalism. Tell the hiring manager, if this is applicable to you after you talk, that you want the job. Tell your recruiter you want the job. Be very clear on what you want. So make sure you've gone through the interview and had a discussion so you actually know that you want it, but tell them that. Send them that follow-up we talked about earlier, even with networking events. Some don'ts. Don't assume. I've had interviewees come into my office to interview and they look around my office and they start assuming things about me. And I'm like, whoa. Everything that you just assumed just kind of was actually incorrect. This one interviewee in particular. And the way that they did it was more like, I know everything about you, so let me talk about myself. So sometimes it can really rub people the wrong way. Don't talk negatively about your previous employer or manager, no matter how crappy that was. Don't do it, because that is showing, it just doesn't set well with interviewers. It just kind of comes out as a reflection. Doesn't mean you can't be upset, but the hiring manager in an interview is not the place to air dirty laundry about your previous employer or manager, for sure. And just a pet peeve, really, the good questions. Sometimes if you're the interviewee, someone asks you a question, you go, great question. And sometimes that's natural for us to do that. But in an interview situation, that can sometimes come across that you're telling the interviewer that they're doing a good job, that you're surprised that they could ask a good question. So that is just a quick pet peeve to really think about some areas maybe you haven't thought about before. I've also included in your packet, like I mentioned earlier, these bonus resume tips. I have listed out 6 here, and I'll just say I'm really high level because I want to leave a few minutes for some additional questions, but customize your resume for every single position you're applying for. There are some other details on that tip sheet. 2, tell your story. Your resume shouldn't just be a bullet point list of your job description. Nope. If you look at your job description and look at your resume and those exact same words and bullet points, that means your resume is not effective. It's not as effective as it can be. You want it to highlight accomplishments, key contributions to your organization, or if you do community activity or involved with other associations, what did you do? How many people did you lead? Put some numbers in there. Actually, that's one of my tips in there. Number 3 talks about translating your role. No matter what type of role you've had, you can always translate some foundational skills into the role that you're applying for. File name. Oh my goodness. Make sure your file name has your name in it. It's very clear. Jaclyn T. Badeau resume, something like that. It doesn't have like just random words or dates, or needs your name in it. Use magic verbs, put in numbers. Again, that bonus sheet is going to be able to give you lots of good tips. So I want to leave you with a little go, rah, rah. You got this. I really do think if you take some time, go through that participant workbook, reflect on what we talked about today, that you can really increase your chances of going into that next position you want. Again, I have a career and leadership-based business in coaching, in training, consulting, do speaking engagements. So if you ever need anything for yourself as a career coach, I'm here for you, or for your companies. I offer those different services. Would love to take any questions you have. Would love to connect with you on social media. The QR code, literally you can flip your phone on right now. Go to LinkedIn, connect with me. You can kind of see how I keep my profile up to date and how I share things and comment on others, just to give you an example of things that it all aligns with my personal brand as well, and how that keeps me relevant in the marketplace. So thank you for your time. And if we have any questions, I'll stick around and answer those for you guys.
Alrighty. Thank you, Jaclyn. This was so good. So much information. So you guys, I know you have questions. Please go in the chat box. And okay, there we go. They're starting to flood in already.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So yes, don't be shy. So alrighty. So let's see here. First question. How do you recommend, and this is directly to you, of course, Jaclyn, how do you recommend getting over the posting hump on LinkedIn? A lot of postings, they're seen kind of self-promotional, quotations. I guess that kind of comes with the territory with a professional networking site, but that doesn't feel like the real authentic me.
Oh, Erin, this is something that I struggle with personally as well. Feels like we have very similar thought processes of, hey, this kind of like selling, self-promoting thing. And we're like, that's not me, right? That doesn't feel authentic. I can relate. Of course, we're different human beings, so I'm sure we have different emotions and thought processes. But here's how I think about LinkedIn. First of all, it's a way to express your brand. So I think about it of, how can I share my thought leadership? What type of thought leadership do I want to provide that will help others? So a lot, like literally get on there, look at some of my Think About It Thursdays. And actually most of my postings will give you a tip. I like to give out free tips. Again, not everything is going to apply to everyone, because again, I always say what works best for you, right? But even what I post on my Thursday, I do a video and I post a little blog there. And I go, hey, how can I increase my empathy? Like, what does that even mean? How do I even think about that? And I'll put a tip out there. So think about, get grounded in what makes you tick and who you are. And my personal branding class, we go into this even much further. And once you start thinking about who you are and what's authentic to yourself, then you start thinking about, well, what thought leadership is that then? So then what can I contribute out there? I bet you every single one of us can contribute something that could help someone else. So if that is something that resonates with you, that's a really good way. That's something that I do. So how can you help? So, but what that does, it shows that you have thoughts, leadership. You're trying to help a community. You're doing that outward, right? And then so you never know, who that comes across. And as potential recruiters and companies are looking for people, if you're in that job hunting, they go, you know what, Erin, I have seen Erin, and Erin's been talking a lot about X topic, which aligns with these initiatives we're doing or the people we hire. So you know what, I'm going to go peg Erin and see, is Erin interested in a position? You never know what could come out of that. Hopefully that helps. You're welcome.
Alrighty. Any more questions, you guys? Feel free to put them in the chat there. Feel free. This was actually a really great, full of information. I hope you guys had success with downloading the handout there, so you can kind of go through and take some tips from there, tips from the overall presentation today. So feel free to ask questions. There was plenty of information.
Yeah, it was loaded information. I was going quick, so I'm like, I want to tell them everything. I also have a longer version of this class too. So there's, and I added that content into your all's participant workbook that I have in my longer class that gives you some reflection time. So look at that packet and really reflect on those prompts that I provided in there for you to really help get you prepared for job hunting and interviewing and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Where can I download the packet? Do we want to stick the link back in the chat maybe? I think some people had trouble, but found out that Google Drive, that they had some success with downloading it. Okay. Is it anywhere else through your business website or anything like that? Or okay.
It looks like Amanda just posted.
Yeah. So. All righty. Okay, let's see here. What tips would you give for interviewing with a company you currently work for? Oh, that's a good one. Done that,
I'm
so.
sure a lot of you all may have this too. So Amber, your question about interviewing for a current company, really the same thing applies. If you're interviewing, especially for a different department, you still want to ask questions, be prepared. What are those departments' initiatives? What have they been working on? Understanding that there might be someone in the company that you've worked with in the collaboration, some cross-functional project. Go understand, hey, what have you been working on? What's kind of like your leaders' priorities? I'm actually going to be meeting with her coming up, and I just want to kind of understand a little more what y'all are focusing on. So you can still prepare for the questions. What is your elevator pitch, your speech, right? You're going to get to tell me about yourself, because that person's going to go, I know you work here and I've heard good things, but tell me a little more about yourself. That's probably going to be the very first thing. So again, concisely, when you think about that, tell me about yourself, apply it to those things that you know about the company or that department, that hiring manager, and how you can weave that in to show that value that you can bring into that other part of the organization. So a lot of the same things, if not all, apply. Just kind of think about it a little bit differently. Looks like we also have a Laura, the advice. For someone who's
Yeah.
considering a different career path.
Yep. Let's see here. Yeah. Considering a different career path, it seems most entry level requires some level of experience, entry level positions. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Laura, oh my goodness. This is, so in my resume tips, there's one that talks about translate your role. I would also recommend you do this during the interview process. Okay. So especially for, you have a really good point. Lots of times entry level positions are going to go, hey, I want you to have experience. And you're like, well, then how's it entry level? And so sometimes that's confusing. Here's what you do. You're like, okay, I don't have any, I'll just use, I don't have any experience in marketing. I've been working at a restaurant. Guess what? You've learned skills no matter where you work that will translate into that job. So that is what you need to focus on. What are those expectations, responsibilities for that marketing position? What are the things that they're saying? Collaboration, communication, you need to do this, work with other departments to do X and Y and Z. Well, then you go, okay, well, in my restaurant experience, I've had to coordinate scheduling. I've had to divvy out responsibilities to the team members of who's going to take what sections. I've had it, right? So you start going through your responsibilities and going, oh, the underlying skill, what is it? Oh, that is collaboration. That is delegation. That is communication. That is blah, 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 right? That's where I want you to focus on. No matter your role, literally, I've hired so many entry-level positions where we're like, hey, 1 to 2 years is preferred. But I get someone who's had 0 years, but what they've been able to do is go, hey, maybe I haven't had this many years in this marketing entry level, but what I hear from you is you're looking for someone that needs collaboration, a strong work ethic, and can work well with the rest of their team to get projects on their deadline. Well, let me tell you how I did this in my previous employment at this restaurant, for example. I did that. Literally, that's what I would do when I worked. I worked at a restaurant, so I'm using that example. And then I worked as a bank teller before I went into the accounting profession. So I translated those skills I got at the restaurant and other things to where I could say, hey, I've got this in a different context and I can apply it here and be successful because of, right? Do the STAR thing. So that's a good way to think about it.
Awesome. All right. Good stuff. Let's see here. All righty. Any more questions, you guys? Any more questions? Put here in the chat. I know there was a ton of information, as we've already mentioned, but this is really, really good stuff. And we, the guys, don't want you to get away here today without asking any of those questions that you may have. Alrighty. And is there any way, and I believe you've already mentioned this, if someone does have a question after today or they want to reach out to you, anything like that, is there a way that they could do so?
Yeah, so that previous slide had my LinkedIn and my website, which has my email on it, my website. You can submit a question through there, set up a 15-minute chat with me. So go through my website, go through LinkedIn, send me an email.
All right, guys. So
Any of those ways, yes.
Great. All right. So you guys got it again. For those who may have had some questions or you may think of some questions, we provided that information again. So if you want to scan those codes there, save that info. Then yeah, Jaclyn, this was
Also,
great.
yeah, thank you. My website will tell you why I have penguins all around the place. I'll use the penguin logo. It's a really cute story. Get on there and look at it on my website.
All righty. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay. I think we're going to pass it on to Carolyn, I believe. Yeah. All righty. Okay. So yeah, we'll go ahead and pass it on to Carolyn. And let's see here, talk about who's hiring. All righty.
Thank you so much. Great crash course. Thank you so much, Jaclyn. A great crash course in job search strategies. So we appreciate your presentation today. If you have a job lead that you can share with our group, whether you're an employer or if you want to share something in the chat box that could benefit others attending, please go ahead and do that now. Also, employers with active job leads that might be on today's presentation, feel free to raise your hand function now, and we will give you a 30-second spotlight to share your job lead. Also, you can certainly put those in the chat box. A reminder to email us job leads by noon today at ukalumnicareer@uky.edu, and we'll include those in our follow-up newsletter. We will likely be a bit delayed in getting our newsletter out this week, but we will be sending those. Also, we're going to be posting anything that would have been on that LinkedIn group page. Unbelievable how many job leads are coming in on that page. More and more employers are posting. Everything we get, we post on that page. So it's a huge resource. Jill, we appreciate you sharing an opportunity for a plant maintenance manager in the chat box. We'll also email that to us and we can include that in our follow-up. Information. Any other job leads? Okay, we will move. Great, thank you. Now we're going to share just some brief updates from our facilitators, and I'll begin with the next slide. We will have steps update from Nicole. If you would share your update. I know you mentioned earlier this morning you have some job leads to share.
Sure. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Sounds like the volume was going in and out, so I hope you can hear me. All righty. So we definitely have some job leads. Let's see here. And I'm going to plug these in here in the chat. A couple of administrative assistant positions that we are looking to hire in our College of Education and I believe in our academics office. And so one of our senior consultants just sent that to me not long before we started Job Club today. So I want to be sure to plug those in there. Also, and forgive me, you guys, I'm looking here. Okay, I want to be able to get these copied and pasted and stick these in the chat here for you. We also have what is called health entrance screener positions. And we are hiring several of those for healthcare. And we also have some screener spotter positions available for healthcare in campus. So that's a couple of administrative jobs, and both of those administrative jobs are for the colleges at the University of Kentucky, and the screener spotter positions are for UK healthcare as well as campus for the spotters. So there is one job posted there. I want to mention that these jobs we will have the administrative assistant jobs posted on Indeed on the Job Club webpage, page on Indeed, sorry, LinkedIn, excuse me there. So I'm getting a little jumbled there. So the admin jobs will be posted on LinkedIn, and the screener positions are not only on the University of Kentucky jobs webpage, but they are posted on Indeed. So if you want to go there and look for screener positions, they're posted there also. And as I mentioned, because I don't want to take up too much time here, let me get that second link provided for you guys. And I know this goes kind of fast, and so that's why I wanted to definitely mention that these jobs are going to be on LinkedIn. They're on our UK webpage and Indeed. So we're kind of everywhere. There are many more, but these are just some of the key ones that we're trying to fill, sort of the hot items right now. So feel free to go on there, apply. You guys can contact me if you would like, and I'll point you in the direction of the correct consultant. So yeah, and that's actually all I have today for steps. So if we want to talk about, okay, alrighty. Looks like Diana, okay. Are you gonna talk about some career? Nope. Okay, you could let me go ahead and read this one here. I think about UK Alumni Career Services. Let's see here. Oh, okay, Amanda. Thank you.
Gotcha, Nicole. No worries. All's
All
good.
right. Okay.
All right. I'm Amanda with Alumni Career Services. It is a busy time with Alumni Career Services and a great time in the economy to kick off a job search or continue a job search for those in the group that are working on it. If you're in need of career-related support, resume reviews, interview practice, career assessment, if you're considering a job change or a big career change, we're here to support you. We'll share some information in the chat once I go off screen for how you can get contacted with us. Next slide, Ellie. All right, I'll pass it over to Diana to give the update from Extension and close us up.
Sure. I'm so glad to just remind you that things are happening in the fall as well with the Cooperative Extension. We just invite you to definitely visit your local Extension office. There are lots of fall programs going on. The Homemakers Association are kicking off their programming for the fall and for the next year. So that's a great time to get connected. That's a great network for job seekers as well. So seek that out. We also, again, with our taking down our gardens and our lawns, there's all kinds of things to do. So that's a good time to visit the Cooperative Extension office to get soil testing or advice on how to prepare for the winter. So just a lot of food preservation. I'm getting calls every day. Done some workshops, but the calls keep coming in. And your FCF's agents are the experts in helping you with those questions and advice and directions and instructions on food preservation. So don't hesitate to pick up the phone with any issue, and they'll be more than happy to help you with that. So just check out every website. I've put Fayette County's in the chat box, and we'd love to talk to you. Now I'll take the next time at Job Club. We are excited that we will have a job search tips and strategy session. It's one of our most, it's really popular. Because it gets down to the brass tacks on how to do those tips and strategies and things that perhaps we haven't mentioned this past session. And our presenters will be evident in their expertise because they are a panel of recruiters and HR professionals. We also want to tell you that we are excited that this will be the first in-person in over a year. And so this is going to be a hybrid version. We're going to be opening the doors at the Fayette Extension office for you to come in person, as well as this session will also continue to be provided virtually. So no worries if you don't live near Fayette County, you'll still be able to connect with us, but we will be providing an in-person presentation as well. And I hope you saw that all caps, free resume reviews for any in-person attendee that comes. So bring your resumes, and following our session, we will have those reviews one-on-one for you so that you can learn from some of the strategies and tips that were even given perhaps that day and apply it to your own situation. The registration website is there. So we look forward to you joining us. I do remind you that we are following UK guidelines and CDC, so masks will be required for in person, but we are just excited to get back together, enjoy the networking, but still stay connected to all of our friends across the state and nation. So we'll see you next time, September 14th.